Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gamers, geezers, geeks alike. It's this week's Monkey Nut Punch podcast. And I'm broadcasting from what I can only describe as Satan's arsehole, where it's really hot here in the UK. I'm kind of struggling with the heat because we don't believe in air conditioning here in the UK, along with the Easter Bunny. Oh, God. Um, anyway, as always, we've got Keith, my fat man in Thailand, where it is always hot and he has air conditioning and he's fine.
Yeah, I am. It's a balmy 24 in this room at the moment. It is 30 fucking 4 outside, but yeah. I don't know how you're surviving. I take the piss out of the weather when you guys say it's hot, but it is actually fucking hot where you are today, and I don't know how you survive without aircon. So yeah, I actually have sympathy for you.
So we had some rain, so that's great.
No, I can hear you.
Oh no,
I can hear
you. My camera has just died because I didn't charge the battery up properly.
Oh no, Tony. Oh no.
So I'm gonna have to hide my face. Right. Bugger. Well, this is fine for me. Don't want you seeing me kind of floundering in the heat. So this week we'll be talking about Star Wars Ahsoka, episode 4, which I watched. I'm ashamed to admit. Apple TV's Isaac Asimov's Foundation, which Keith watched, which I don't, because I'm waiting for Slow Horses to come back on Apple TV, and then I'll re-up my subscription then. We'll finish off with Star Trek: The Final Frontier, because we've been doing that, and also we've got a trailer for Monarch, Godzilla MonsterVerse TV show for Apple. Looks quite entertaining.
It does.
Yes.
So we're going to kick off with Ahsoka then.
We're going to kick Ahsoka, yeah. Because I'm like, you watched that episode. You know, it's all right. And I was like, God, sorry. I'll get back to the microphone. God, how bad was it?
It was really bad.
That one's deemed okay.
It was deemed. I suppose I deemed it as gone.
Hang on, Keith, before you go anywhere, that's the episode. After I gave it a Star Trek, and you have that big climactic 2-parter in the middle, and then you have that slow one just after.
Mm-hmm.
It was a slow one just after.
It's better than the first 3 episodes by a long way. And it's funny.
I'm comparing it to regular TV, Keith.
Oh,
it should be at standard. Oh, now you're struggling. You lost all ability to argue there.
No, because if we put Andor to a side, because that wasn't made by the same people as all the other Star Wars shit that's been on, right? So if we put Andor to a side for a second, I think that was the best episode of Star Wars from the team of Mandalorian in many ways, but again, you have to have been a fan of the Clone Wars and a fan of Rebels. They've really, with this TV series, I mean, Filoni's going, but you have to have seen Clone Wars, and more importantly, you have to have seen the 2 episodes where they meet the Force, in effect. They meet the Force, and Anakin turns to the dark side there, and it's pretty dark, and they end up killing the light side of the Force, who then turns into this owl, and that's the owl that follows Ahsoka during Rebels, and sort of lets her into the world beyond worlds. And there were hints of that throughout this episode. So as a Rebels and Clone Wars fan, there was a lot there, and it was like, okay, this is actually pretty good. But if you've never seen that, you're going to think, okay, it's mediocre. It wasn't good in a lot of ways. It wasn't perfect. There was a lot of dialogue that was a bit shit. The one thing I did like was the fact that Ahsoka didn't kick ass, and that, the power of Ray Stevens, he's not a small man, and the power of that man managed to, not kill her, but overcome her. And I like the fact that it wasn't surprise whammon. And there's a lot going on there. I don't think that's Anakin Skywalker, partly because he had Vader's saber. All right, that was Vader's saber. There's a load of people going, no, it's not. It was only... No, if you look at it, it's got the red knob on the end, and Vader's saber had a red knob on the end because I own them.
Hold on, Keith knows about knobs.
Yeah. There's people going, there's people that say, oh, it's Vader's saber, and there's other people going, oh, it's not Vader's saber. If you look, no, it's Vader's saber. And then they play the Vader music very subtly and then loudly. I think that's the brother. If you ever watched the Clone Wars episode, I think that's the brother. I think that is, I think that's the dark force, the dark side of the force, the brother, if you watch that Clone Wars episode. But I don't know. I watched that and was pleasantly surprised. I liked the lightsaber fighting. I knew that the dude in the suit was Green Witch magic. And again, there's all these people bitching about the magic. And it's again, no, if you've played like Jedi Survivor, or you've Fallen Order, or again, watch the Clone Wars or Rebels, you'll know exactly who she is, or who she is, where she comes from and where the magic comes from. But what they've done though is they've limited themselves in the fact that the people who never watched Clone Wars, never watched Rebels, have no fucking idea what's going on right now. None. But having said that, I still cannot. They've massively miscast Hera. Hera just does not work for me in the slightest. Sabine kind of does, but Hera doesn't. Not at all. Not at all. As somebody who hadn't got a fucking clue what was in the nicest possible way, what did you make of it?
There was only one bit I liked the entire thing.
Fair enough.
That's when the robot's getting attacked and he fucks the spaceship, so the lights go a bit weird. And they go, oh no, he's under. He goes, oh, he's fucked up the spaceship. She goes, no, he wouldn't fuck up the spaceship. He's under attack. Because that made sense. Yeah. I watched it. It felt very. This is a set. This is a set. This is a set. So where you have Star Wars, and Star Wars always felt had kind of like a broad feeling whenever you were on a planet. Even the sets, so like when you had Dagobah in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, those sets felt expansive and massive. These things feel very walled off and small. So you got that. No, I described it in Doctor Who, where it's like kind of with Jodie Whittaker's first season, where you've got this universe and it's occupied by no one. Gave that kind of feeling off in that. So the other thing too is you were talking about the guy in black. It could be Starkiller or Ezra or someone like that.
That's what they were saying last week, and then I thought,
and
no.
It just turns out to be Black Smoke. Well done, you did a Lost on us. I fucking hate that TV show.
No, I mean that was. If you remember, what's her face in Jedi Fallen Order, she can control people, create ghosts or possess people. What they call the Night Sisters or something. They come from the same world as Darth Maul comes from. That was what it was.
Anyway, people had built up, and even you got bought into it too. That was something significant, something entertaining, something that was going to come and make some kind of difference, and it wasn't. And it was just like kind of Well, that was a damp squib there. That's not a good one. So you had that. Ray Stevenson was all right in it. He actually, to be honest, was the only actor I actually did gravitate towards of any shape. Between that and the droids, I'm probably more into the droids than anything else. You could have just removed everyone else. I would have probably enjoyed it a bit more.
I thought Ahsoka had more than just resting bitch face this week. She emoted more this week. There was more of her personality there, but there wasn't much. I mean, I'm trying to it wasn't perfect, and I absolutely get what you mean about those sets. Their insistence on using this fucking one room where it's all a screen at the back, isn't it? They use it for the Mandalorian. It doesn't work, and you're right. It does. It makes it feel claustrophobic. You're bang on the money there.
Yeah, and going back to the episode itself, it's fucking lost my chain of thought there. It's the whole right. So the space bollock that they're using to find Thrawn, who apparently is in a different galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's Space Nut. Yeah. How does that work exactly?
Well, I mean, again, it's not at the end of Rebels. They implied that they were going to a different galaxy, but I have no idea how it works.
The Space Nut, because I'm looking at that thinking, if that was.
At first, I thought it was a Stargate.
Oh, I thought they were building a big Stargate, like one of the big space gates that they had with the Ori in bloody Stargate SG-1. So I thought they were building one of them, which is fine. It would have been funny if the Ori then came out. That would have been a shock. Oh my god, different franchise. But it was the Space Nut thing that used to track Thrawn. It didn't make any fucking sense. I'm just like, kind of, was it like a magical thing where you could ask it to find someone and it would set that person? What was up the Space Nut? Because that didn't make any sense. And then Ray Stevenson destroyed it. Ray Winston would have been more entertaining, actually. He destroyed it, which was fine. But it's like kind of, if it was like an ancient like Jedi artifact that you could pretty much ask it to find anyone anywhere, that would have made a bit more sense. So they want it because they can use it to find Ezra, and they want it because they can use it to find Thrawn. Yeah.
Yep.
Something along those lines. He opens up a new window and it happens 4 screens behind him. So I just I don't know.
It's interesting. Again, I get why you didn't enjoy it, and I don't disagree with you. I think it's because I spent all that time watching all of Clone Wars and all of Rebels, and you got me into Rebels, and then I went back and watched Clone Wars to understand some of the threads through Rebels. There were a few things in this episode that when I managed to geek out on it. Has it saved Star Wars? No, it has not in the slightest. The problem is, Clone Wars and Rebels were always niche, places for Star Wars that didn't really affect the larger timeline. They were always cool because you had like original characters turning up and there was all this information, but it never it enhanced sort of like episode 3, because obviously it continued between and it gives you an idea of how the Rebel Alliance started if you watch Rebels, but it never directly affected the Skywalker saga. And again, there's a lot of people that when Disney should really be making Star Wars for everyone, their tentpole series, the one that they supposedly banking on to save Star Wars, is really only for people that ever watched Clone Wars, and that's nowhere near enough subscribers. I mean, and no wonder it's not getting watched. And I agree, but Disney have never done good de-aging. I mean, it's still better than Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian, but you're right. Sorry, Biffin made a comment about Hayden Christensen looking weird. But it was cool to see Hayden Christensen, and I liked the hello snips. But again, no one's going to get that. No one's going to get why Anakin's there unless you fucking watch Clone Wars. So, because, or you paid attention in Rebels to understand that Ahsoka was Anakin's Padawan until she walked away because the Jedi fucked her over. And again, there's all that unless you watch Clone Wars, you don't even understand why she is the way she is. It's nuts that this is the tentpole series, because a lot of people won't get it. You have to have watched all this shit to understand fully what's going on and to have enjoyed that episode.
But what you can do is you can, how can I put it, retell the story so it fucking matches. So the first things first is this isn't an Ahsoka story. This is the Heir to the Empire storyline from the 90s, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've inserted Ahsoka in there Now, I bet you the Heir to the Empire story had some characters that were completely new, and they were, how can I put it politely, they were backed up and fleshed out, so you knew who they were and how they'd behave, because that's how you have to tell a story, yeah? So, naturally, you don't use them, you don't flesh the characters out, there's a list of things that you're not doing, and it's like, oh, we use Ahsoka, because a few people know who Ahsoka is. Ahsoka's not Han Solo. Ahsoka's not Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader or Princess Leia, or even a Chewbacca show would have made more sense. If it had been Chewbacca, yeah, instead of Ahsoka, that would have made more sense. You'd have got the Millennium Falcon too. That would have been so much more interesting. Just Chewbacca with Sabine trying to take it out Thrawn. That would have worked.
I think if you're going to make a series where you don't have to have watched all the Clone Wars, I totally agree with you. I like the character of Ahsoka. I'm not sure I like Rosario Dawson as her, but I liked the character of Ahsoka. It was an interesting character. It's something that hadn't been done in Star Wars before. And it wasn't surprise whamming. It wasn't because she was a woman. It was genuinely, she was an interesting, fleshed out, and she is a genuinely interesting and fleshed out character. But you're meant to be making a tentpole series that is meant to save Star Wars and having fucked up all over it. And all you've done is launch a series that's just got all this baggage. And you're right, they haven't given us any real information here. And people don't get it. People don't get the significance of that scene in Boba Fett, why was it in Boba Fett? Where she meets Luke. And as a Star Wars fan who's watched all this shit, I love it. But I also completely get all the criticism of it, because there's most people that haven't fucking seen it. So, and yeah, I think, Biffa, you're right. I think a Luke show would have been better. Well, I mean, the Luke show would have won everyone over. But doing something different in the Star Wars world would have been better. Had you not fucked up all of bloody Star Wars before, maybe bloody, if you'd started with Andor, maybe there will be a lot more good feeling towards it. I know that Andor wasn't everybody's cup of tea, but Andor was actually the best fucking thing they've done, because it was at least well written.
Yeah, no, Andor was, as I said, if you asked the BBC to make you Star Wars, that's what they would have made you. Yeah,
and it was filmed on location. So again, you're right about, and I couldn't put my finger on it, but you're right. You've articulated it well. The sets, it feels claustrophobic. It feels insular, and you're absolutely right about that. They keep doing that. Although, the first episode where you see Lothal in real life, that did actually look quite cool. And it was good, again, to see that, having watched it in Rebels, and the Loth Cat and everything else, in live action again, was kind of cool to see. But the first 3 episodes haven't been really that good. At least there was some good light Faber-Sart. I like Ray Stevens in this, but I get it. I don't disagree with anything you're saying, because I get your perspective entirely. And again, I don't understand why they're doing it, but go on. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's just the whole point of putting through a character that Dave Filoni likes, rather than a character that audiences will resonate with, if that makes any sense. So he picked a character that he wanted, not a character that people would get behind. So if it would have been Luke Skywalker, it would have made more sense. As I said, if it had been fucking Chewbacca and we wouldn't understand a word that he said, we would have gravitated more to Chewbacca. Yeah, just think about that show. If you literally just got one character to stand next to, because you could have Sabine in it, but Sabine would act as translator for Chewbacca. He's like, and he'd be like, oh my god, they're gonna find Grand Admiral Thrawn. He's hiding out in another galaxy. How do you know this? Yeah, and we could have done like Skippy the Bush Kangaroo. That would have been more entertaining. But I don't get. It's right. You like Ahsoka? She's not as popular as everyone. You think? Yeah, she really isn't. Darth Maul would have worked better.
I like Ahsoka because I found her story interesting, and I think if you've watched all of Clone Wars and watched all of Rebels, you might like the character, right? Because she is an interesting character. and she was. The trouble is, if you've never watched any of this, you think she's going to be like, Captain Marvel, that she hasn't earned this, that she was immediately awesome, and she really wasn't. And you see her fail. She has had a journey. She has had a character journey. She left the Jedi Order because the Jedi Order did, she was framed for doing something, and the Jedi Order turned their backs on her, right, completely. And then when they realized that it wasn't, Anakin never did. In fairness, Anakin never did. Anakin always believed that she was innocent. And in the end, Anakin proves it. But that is also the beginning of Anakin's turn. And again, it's something very subtle, but it leads into episode 3. And you can, you understand. It actually made me appreciate episode 3 in a different light, having seen that. And she turns her back on the Jedi after that. She says, you know what? No, I'm not coming back. Fuck you. And she walks away from it. And that's a pretty big moment. And then, for her to come back into Rebels and to face down Vader in that Rebels episode there's a hell of a lot of emotion there. But unless you've fucking seen it, you don't get it. And you're right. She's not a popular character because she's Filoni's character, and Filoni's never been able to play in the big Star Wars sandboxes. He's always played in the lower end, the cartoons, the bits that are not that important, because a lot of people turn around, so it's just a cartoon. That's why a lot of people haven't watched Star Trek Prodigy, and it's probably other than Picard season 3, it's the best fucking Star Trek that they've done. So, but anyway,
okay, so it's,
go on.
All right, so the other thing too is people not dying in recent Star Wars.
Yeah, I know.
No one dies in Star Wars, especially with lightsaber injuries, which would just cook you from the fucking inside out if you got stabbed through the chest.
I've just got good point. I have one minor thing to remind people of about the stabbing in the chest. Darth Maul got his legs chopped off, got pushed down a fucking infinity pit, and still managed to come back.
Right, no, again, that was Dave Filoni.
So yes, exactly.
He fucked that too. And the problem with that is, and this is quite an important thing, is that the top half, they've managed to fix the top half of him. I'm worried if there's the bottom half of him with like a droid attached at the top. So Darth Maul's arsehole's wandering around.
Oh, no,
on that note,
right. Foundation. Really,
yes.
And I do mean genuinely, really bloody good this week. It had everything. It had space battles, which were awesome. It had dramatic moments. It had some massive revelations. And it was genuinely a really, really fucking good episode of TV. And it's been left on a big cliffhanger that the book doesn't cover. I personally don't think it's real, or at least the last 10 minutes of it I don't think are real, although I haven't kind of worked out how they're not real. They played a fucking blinder, although they ruined it in the trailer this week, and I spotted it, unfortunately, so I knew it was going to happen. Had they not put it in the trailer, you idiots, it would have been a blinder, because they killed off, let's just say, they killed off a version of Harry Seldon in episode 4, right, at the end. And he had just been given a body again, a human body, supposedly, although I've got a feeling it isn't. And then they killed him off, like two episodes later, they killed him off. Except they didn't. And he comes back right at the last minute and literally does a fucking Negan from The Walking Dead and bludgeons this bitch. And she was a bitch. I mean, he bludgeons her. And he... and then he does a kind of Batman quick. He falls down and goes, never did like her. And then he cuts, and you can see the bludgeoned head all over the floor, and the two girls just going. I was like, yeah, actually, I like that. I wonder how many takes that actually took. because I would have been pissing myself laughing. But then okay, I'll give you the spoiler. I'll give you spoilers, people. If you have not seen this, the spoilers, right? At the end, Empire shoots down this fucking ship that they've got, which, if I'm right, its core is a neutron star or some kind of fucking singularity. Because basically, by dropping that onto a planet, it tears the planet apart, and they literally tear Terminus apart. I mean, it's in pieces. They have taken out the foundation, literally destroyed it, everything. So I don't think that's real, because Terminus does not get destroyed at this point, and it doesn't get destroyed like that. So I don't think that last 10 minutes is real, but it was genuinely a brilliant episode. I liked how it brought Asimov's robots into it. So, Foundation and robots were never connected, but they brought robots into this, and they've done it in a really clever way. And we basically got Demoiselles' backstory in this, and again, it was very well done. And you find out that the Cleons are not Empire; it's her, and it's believable in the way they did it. And they've been dropping hints, but then you get the whole backstory at the beginning of this episode. So you had that you had Cleon being fucking evil, and then genuinely, it was really good.
I thought you said the Klingons then for a moment, not the Cleons. The
Klingons.
Where the fuck have the Klingons come from?
Well, the Klingons are the Lee Pace's character and the various other ones. But again, you just find out that they're being puppets and they've been played, and you see how it's happened, and it's always been there in front of you, but you've never really seen it from that perspective, and you get it, and you're just like, whoa. And yeah, so God knows what they're going to do in the final episode this week. But it had everything, and it was genuinely probably one of the best hours of TV I've seen in a long while. It was genuinely balls to the wall, great all the way through. I mean, I said I enjoyed the first few episodes of season 2. Then it kind of it did exactly what season 1 did. It kind of went a bit sort of quiet in those middle episodes, and then started ramping up. But boy, fucking hell, did it ramp up in this episode! So yeah, it was good. I genuinely enjoyed it. I think Lee Pace is really good in this. He's really evil, and when the planet literally gets torn apart and it's just fucking pieces of planet floating everywhere, he has this real sort of hammy sort of evil grin on his face, but it's done in such a way. Generally, it makes you hate him, but not in a boring way. And he's about to get his comeuppance. Yeah, watch it. If you're not watching it, I think you might enjoy it. Definitely, this episode was good, really good. So there you go. Yeah. Just before we go into Monarch, I mentioned to you I tried to watch Lower Decks. And I do emphasize try.
I watched Blue Beetle, so
yeah, go on then. You tell me first, because I mean, the fandom menace lot have all been really negative and really laid into this, and I begin to not trust everything they say now, because I think they have to make negative videos or they don't get the views. And I do have a feeling
it's
go on.
Right, so I watched it. The first third of the film lagged like fucking crazy. It really did. Lagged something chronic. It was a point where it's like, kind of, dude, this is going to get better, or I'm going to fuck off out the cinema. And then it does. It does get better after that. There are things that it does the family kind of thing quite well. They needed to play onto the fact that he's an uncle, because they always keep talking about the uncle thing. What do you call it? The uncle says the thing about Batman, but you need to lay into the fact that the uncle is a bit of an arsehole, and he's perceived as a bit of an arsehole. So you got that there. It's one of those things. If you watch it on Netflix and you've got nothing else to do, and you kind of zip to the bit where he starts getting his powers and stuff, it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. It's not dreadful crap. It's not. Oh my god, I'm trying to think of terrible films. It's not Thor bad. It's not Stephen Strange bad. It is functional. I think is my review. It's a 4 out of 10, and it's described as functional. There were some bits that they did that I liked in there, because there was some like kind of. There's a bit where they've gone to the original Blue Beetle, Kent Cord's house, and him and his uncle were having a heart-to-heart on the roof, and he just turns and goes, "I love you, uncle," like that, and he goes, "I love you back," and it's like little things like that when you have family and people you care about, you tell them you love them, blah blah blah, and they kind of miss that out in other films. They were doing those bits right, and if you want something funny, Steve, I've seen Barbie. I've seen Barbie. I had a friend who was leaving at work and decided to take her to watch Barbie because she was going on about it. And her review of Barbie was really interesting, because her review of Barbie goes as follows. What was that?
Oh dear.
So yes, my little friend Lisa, she was like kind of, yes, we'll go and watch Barbie, you need to wear pink, blah blah blah, this, that, the other. And it's like, she watched it and she was like, I have no fucking idea what happened.
Well, I will watch it then. I can watch Blue Beetle, so I might watch that. Indiana Jones hasn't launched here yet, but obviously it's now available for download. I can't bring myself to watch it. I can't stand Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I think it'll be the one Indiana Jones movie I never actually watch. I can't bring myself to do it. What was I going to say? Yeah, Lower Decks, right? This week. Somebody said, oh, it's the Voyager episode. I thought, right. People keep banging on about the Deep Space Nine episodes. Oh, it's really nostalgic, blah, blah, blah. You should watch it. I was like, okay, I'll give it another go. I got through 10 minutes of it and I had to switch it off. I just got it. It was so stupid. And all it is doing is it's playing member berries. You get the Voyager, right? And it's Voyager a couple of years after it's got back, and it's been decommissioned, and it's going to be stuck in a museum, right? Because it's like this hugely historic ship. So for some reason, and I still don't quite get the justification of discontinuing the ship, right? Only even though it's only like 8-year-old ship, they've decommissioned it, right? And
I never got that in Star Trek. I really didn't. It's like the original Enterprise lasted at least 20, 30 years. I think it was like 30 years before it got decommissioned. And it got decommissioned when Kirk decided to, how can I put it, blow it up to kill some Klingons off. It would have kept going otherwise. So you first you got that, and then the two characters, one of them is called Boma or Bormer. I couldn't even. And he goes on there, and then it's member berry after member berry after member berry, and then they randomly find one of those macro viruses, right, from that macro virus episode. Somehow still alive after 5 years in one of the side panels, like the Voyager crew never would have found that. Like, it didn't have internal sensors that could literally fucking track microbes, right? They wouldn't have found something the size of a fucking beach ball in wedged in the side of the thing. So you got that, right? And then it breaks into the holodeck, and then you get all these other characters, and somehow you get the black and white character dude that you and I, argue over as to whether it was a good episode of Voyager or not. He turns up, and then somehow there's millions of him running around. Then you've got like the Ming the Merciless knockoff hollow character. And you've got all these characters from Voyager. You even had the Irish character that Janeway knobbed in the holodeck, right? Turn up, and it was just ridiculous. And I was just like, what is this? What is its purpose other than to make a mockery of something that I quite enjoyed? So yeah, after 10 minutes I went, I can't watch this. It's shit. I'm switching it off. I don't get how people like this. I don't get how serious Star Trek fans are going, oh, it's amazing because they had Deep Space Nine. You're just buying into memory berries, which makes me question your fucking intelligence.
I just don't get how people like this. I don't understand it. I don't understand how anyone. I always thought the Star Trek people had brains, right? People that like Star Trek were, had a level of intelligence, right? If you have that level of intelligence, this must numb your fucking brain.
Okay.
Maybe I'm an old Trekkie and stuck in the mud, but seriously, I don't get it. Anyway, shall we do the Monarch trailer?
I'm getting shit for watching Barbie. Just getting shit for watching Barbie. I'm not happy with that.
Getting shit for watching. I never gave you any shit. Should have done, but I didn't. Can I? Cause hang on. Yeah, it's a good year. It's a Godzilla. Oh no! Go on. Sorry. I've been waiting to do that all week.
That's the whole reason you asked me to watch this trailer, isn't it? Just so you could do your Godzilla impression.
Oh no!
You're borderline. You're very politically incorrect.
Dude, there's a person in this village, right, that's got a beagle, and they've called their beagle Godzilla every fucking time. I see it. Oh no, he's a Godzilla. And my wife already told me the other week that the owner thinks I'm the one taking the mick out of him. I'm like, I'm not. It's a South Park. I can't help myself. You call your dog Taxi. Anyway, go on.
Sorry, I'm still getting shit for Barbie. No. Anyway.
Dude, if we can't call you dude, it's Barbie. Yeah, look, all right, they're giving you shit, right? But at the end of the day, there is not one man that would say no to her.
What, Margot Robbie?
Yeah, there is not one man that would say no to her. Any of you? Oh, quiet room. That would be my excuse.
But if you're saying no man would say no to it, I would probably say no to it and record it, so I could be the one man and be famous for that.
Let's face it, I didn't watch Wolf of Wall Street for the story. I didn't watch it for the story. I'm not going to lie.
No. Wolf of Wall Street was brilliant. The best bit is
yes, it was brilliant.
The best bit is where he took a shitload of drugs and said he managed to drive home and everything was fine. And then looks at his Lamborghini and it's totaled. And then it cuts to what actually happened and he just trashed fucking everything. It's brilliant.
That Gaff is having to say this because his wife is watching. My wife never watches it, so the best scene is when she opens the fucking door.
No, that's fine. I appreciate a good-looking woman. I will not say that. But,
that's the best scene. By the way, no, we'll talk about it in Star Trek 5 because somebody remembers something because we're talking about Totty. Sorry.
I think. I'm not sure if he's winding us up or he's being serious because of its text. You can't read the tone into text.
Okay,
floats your boat. Whatever floats your boat. If that's what floats your boat, I'm happy for you. It's just it's the what do you call it? It's the porn industry rules. Never, and it's the same as TV. Never get involved with children and animals.
Right, come on. Then.
Anyway,
let's
watch this. This is trailer. Let's do the trailer before we go into.
I don't know if this will get to you. I hope so. I can't go back in time and fix all the mistakes I made, but maybe I could leave something for the future. A legacy.
The world is on fire. I decided to do something about it. Hopes, dreams, ambitions. The mission was to protect their world and ours. It's what we wanted Monarch to be. Instead of chasing monsters. If you come with me, you'll know everything, I promise.
All right, so let's go through this because one, I like Kurt Russell.
Me too.
I'm a big Kurt Russell fan. I'd love
Me
to
too.
meet Kurt Russell. So it looks like, just going through this, it's kind of related back to the Kong Skull Island. Bits.
You know the first movie was the Godzilla movie, the remake with Bryan Cranston in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Up until Bryan Cranston's kind of dies, right? It was actually a really good movie. It's actually when Godzilla turns up that it kind of got boring, which I shouldn't say, but it was that first one. Skull Island was a much better movie, and then Godzilla versus Kong was fucking fantastic. But I mean, it wasn't, but it was a good enough movie.
It was the epitome of dumb fucking movies.
But I liked the first few minutes. When Bryan Cranston was alive, I really enjoyed that. This TV series kind of feels like that, and if it stays like that, I think I might enjoy this.
So, I've kind of got the impression that Kurt Russell wants to kill Godzilla.
Maybe, but a lot of people do, and then they realise that Godzilla is actually kind of the good guy. So I don't know.
I've just got a feeling that he kind of and the other monsters too. So,
but we've got another Kong and Godzilla movie coming, haven't we? There's another one coming as well. So I think this is what leads into that movie, from what I've been told. But look, I'm kind of up for it. It looks good.
We have Nigel in the comments.
We have a Nigel. We have a
Nigel in the comments. So, hello, Nigel.
With that.
So yes. So I was going to try and go through some of the trailer before you jumped in there. Let's do the trailer. And I was like, okay, I'll go through the trailer. So we've got Kurt Russell doing stuff for Monarch. There's clearly he's got his son playing young Kurt Russell. It's a good choice. And it looks like that Monarch were exploring the Hollow Earth thing. And then you got Godzilla there in the background, and I kind of fucking lost my bloody chain of thought.
Hot Chinese girl.
So,
I
think that
who was the flying one? Is that Mothra?
It doesn't look like Mothra.
Okay.
That doesn't look like Mothra. I need to find where is the bit that I was looking for. So it looks like the I get the impression. I got it. Where are you? Get the impression that the world's a bit fucked.
Well, that was after the first Godzilla movie, because the Godzilla, the first one, the first Monarch Godzilla movie, shall we say, was where he wipes out San Francisco and he walks through the bridge. So yeah, and they were doing the Hollow Earth because that was the second movie. There's been 3 Godzilla movies, hasn't there, in this Monarch world? Because you had the one with 11 from what should we call it? And
that was the monkey versus lizard. That was
no, she was in one previous to that, wasn't she?
Oh yeah, she was in previous.
Yeah, there's been 2 Godzilla movies. Then you've had Godzilla.
King of Monsters, that was the one she was.
Yeah.
In.
And because that was the one with Mothra.
Mothra, yeah, from Star Wars. Some Star Wars comment on
yeah, for a moment. And then you had, Kong versus Godzilla, or Godzilla versus King Kong, or whatever it was called. And then Eleven's in that one as well, isn't she? I think this looks good, as I said. But yeah, that looks like it's after Godzilla walks into San Francisco and fucks it all up. That was the end of the Bryan Cranston movie.
Yeah, but it's just like kind of, you got these little bits here pointing that the monsters might be a bit more of a menace than they really are. Where's the bit with the boat? There's a bit with a boat. There's a boat bit here.
Back.
That falls over.
Yeah, bit. It was. I think it was after that.
There it is.
Yeah. That looks like Skull Island.
So, Kurt could be interesting. Could be interesting. I don't know. I'll give it a watch because if they need to put King Kong in it as well, you can't not now. Sorry, you have to have both of them in there.
Mate. Even Nigel's starting on it now.
I know. I quit at the moment ago, but someone wasn't paying attention. Don't give me shit for seeing a Barbie movie. I'm gonna fucking text my mate and tell him I go. I watched that Barbie movie. I've got so much shit from my friends this Sunday. Anyway, I think it's gonna be interesting. And that.
I happen to know that Nigel appreciates, a leggy blonde, and given half the chance, he'd go and watch that film. So if he gives you shit, we know.
I'd just like to point out that the whole movie would have been resolved really easily if Ken would have been allowed to stay over Barbie's house. That's it. Everything would have been fine.
Are you basically saying if Ken had got his end away, everything would have been fine? Is that essentially what you're saying?
And the other part of it too is when they introduced the patriarchy to Barbie World, all the Barbies were happy. Everyone was happy. It looked like so much fun. Just saying.
Right. Let's talk about Star Trek 5. And Gareth, I forgot something, but I need to make a mental note of this right now. When we do our top totty, right? Romulan Ambassador has got to go on that fucking list. I've forgotten about her.
Okay, all right.
All
right. Just a quick one before we start. I told you last week about the weird pool table, which was full of water.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you explain that to me? Because I can't fucking explain it to myself.
Hang on. Margot Robbie, mate. Margot Robbie. Enough said. I don't get the game either, but I remember seeing it in there. I don't understand it. But last week I said, "Oh, do I have to watch this film?" And it's been a long while since I've watched it. I enjoyed it.
I struggled. I really struggled with it. I'll be honest with you. It just felt it felt jarring in places. When they got all right, so up until the bit where they all get on the ship, I had trouble holding my attention. As soon as they all got on the ship, everything kind of settled down, and my attention was like, all right. But yeah, it is a little mad. There's some good bits in it. I won't sit there and say there's some good bits in it. The bit where they like confronting people's pain, and you get to see McCoy's father. And he goes through that bit there. That as a character moment, a pretty good character moment in it. Still laugh at Scotty banging his head.
Yeah, but
I watched that as a child, and I found that funny. And now I'm an adult, I still enjoy it and find it funny too.
I love the bit I like the opening bits in Yellowstone Park with Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. And come on, row your boat. I love that. I thought that was a really important character moments, and I like
clicking the comment. I'm pressing the comment.
I'm not clicking. My hand's here.
And your other hand
here. Mouse here.
Yeah. Okay.
I actually enjoyed it up until really they did get on the ship, and then it started to get, I suppose, a bit. It could be perceived as a bit silly. I mean. They make the cardinal sin of making. I mean, the Enterprise has got to be a fucking TARDIS because it's definitely bigger on the inside, especially the bit with the hover boots in the turbo corridor. It ain't that high. It's just not that big. It hasn't got that many fucking decks. So that was a bit silly. That bit always annoys me. But Jerry Goldsmith came back to compose for this film, and the music and score are really good in this film. And there are some brilliant character moments. Uhura's flirting with Scotty, and the moments. It held my attention all the way through, actually, which was surprising.
Sorry, it's just like pointing out my wife's not giving me shit.
Somebody's called her. Somebody's called her.
Anyway,
I enjoyed it. I actually thought, I take the piss out of this film, but actually it wasn't as bad as I remember it being.
right. So It wasn't terrible, but in comparison to the others, if you look at it at 2 and 3, even 4 to an extent, there was the scripts and bits felt a bit more solid, if that made any sense.
Oh
They
yeah,
were a bit well thought through, and everything was kind of plotted out and whatnot. So, and then there's the whole Cybok character.
yeah.
Yeah, Cybok character.
Here's the thing,
Where
right?
if it had been Spock's cousin, it would have made more sense.
You know the god of Shakari. What does Shakari kind of sound a little bit about? Like, it's
Go on, tell me.
right. Originally,
Fuckery, it sounds more like this.
Originally, Cybok was going to be played by someone else. And it was all going to happen, and then that person ended up having to do another film. Originally, Cybok was going to be Sean Connery, and that's why they called it Shakari, because it kind of sounds a bit like Sean Connery.
Oh.
And it was going to be Sean Connery. Now, had it been Sean Connery, that would have been better. That would have been better. Although the guy that plays him did a very good job. I get it. I get why some people don't like this. I haven't seen it in fucking years, but I kind of enjoyed it, and I kind of enjoyed it more than Star Trek 4. And I don't know why, but I kind of did.
Star Trek 4's not that good.
Yeah,
Star Trek
well,
4's the least Star Trekky of all the films. This one's still Star Trekky.
I think you're
Yeah.
right, and that's the thing. Because when I watched it again, I was like, "Yeah, this is kind of." In fact, in many ways, this is more Star Trekky than Star Trek 3 and 4. Although, don't get me wrong, Star Trek 3 is a good film, and Star Trek 5 has problems like the Klingons. It didn't really need to be in this film. And there are other things in this that, make a problem, but there were genuinely good moments. I like the ending.
Hang on a second. No. Hold on. You were talking about the Romulan ambassador. Yeah. The Klingon second in command. She's got a pair of boobs that could feed the crew.
Yeah, but she is kind of, yes, mistress, no, mistress, 3 bags for all, mistress.
Dude,
Make me wear a
I'll
gimp
try
mask.
anything once. I'll try anything once. You know me.
If you're into gimp masks, then maybe.
Dude. Anyway, she's on the list.
All right, fair enough.
She's on the list. All right.
I'll give you that.
Honorable mention.
I'll give you it. I'll let you have it. Because I'm petitioning the Romulan ambassador in this one. Way better looking the Romulan ambassador in an undiscovered country who's a bald man.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I thought that wasn't David Werner. That he played anyway.
Look, I understand why some people say it's the weakest of them. I actually think I enjoyed it. I don't know why. Maybe I was in a good mood. I was building Lego whilst I was doing that, and that always puts me in a good mood. But I'd forgotten. It did feel really Star Trekky, and you're absolutely right about Star Trek 4. Having watched Star Trek 5 now, and I've seen 6 for next week, you're absolutely right. And again, in this one, it's discussion, the bit when they're all around the campfire and McCoy is like having a right go at him for free climbing El Capitan. It's and Kirk says, even when I was falling, I knew I wasn't going to die. And it's quite a profound scene, and the music is really good. And even though the Kirk, doesn't die alone, which is really annoying, and fuck you to generations, which I'm really not looking forward to. Because that still bothers me. It still bothers me. Having, I actually there's some really good things in this film. Is it the best of them? No. But I actually enjoyed this more than Star Trek 4. And I didn't think I'd ever say that. And I did this time round. So okay. I like the ending. I love the ending.
I think the bit that gets me most about it is the fact that I can see a really good story underneath with poor execution. That bugs the crap out of me. Because there are bits, it shines through every so often where the execution works. Yeah? But there's bits where it doesn't work, and that's frustrating as all hell. The idea of having some weird religious leader, the idea of having an emotional Vulcan is interesting.
Yes.
To start with, a guy that just embraces the emotionality and whatnot of his thing, rather than trying to wash it out with like logic and whatnot. That's an interesting concept. The idea that he then would become a cult leader, also an interesting thing. Going to Galactic Core, considering how long it took Voyager to get home.
Yeah, that's a bit stupid.
Bit stupid. Plus, if anyone knows anything about Galactic Core, do you know what sits at the core at Galactic Core? A fucking great big black hole. A giant black hole.
I mean, they call it the Great Barrier, don't they? But it is the center of the galaxy, yeah.
But the bit I quite enjoy is when they're having the conversation, and Kirk points out the fucking obvious. What does God need with the starship?
Yeah, that's the way he does it.
I think.
Excuse me. One question. What does God need with a starship? And it was in that typical Kirk way. But you know, since I found out that Connery was meant to play him, I think it would have been much more. Look, the guy who played Cyborg did a good job, but it would have Connery versus Kirk would have been something to behold. And I think it would have worked better with Connery as that pro. I can really understand why when they wrote the story to this, and William Shatner had a lot to do with the story, as did Roddenberry, because he wanted to do an anti-God story, which this is in many ways. Although Kirk didn't, and that's why that speech, William Shatner's speech at the end about God, is at the end, which again is quite a good speech. I think it would have worked better with Connery, but you're right. The Great Barrier, the center of the galaxy, was a bit stupid. I agree with you completely there. But I think it would have worked better with Connery. But go on.
As I said, I think it would have worked better if they kind of just tidied everything up. It's annoying because, as I said, it felt like it had something there. Also had David Warner in it, and they wasted him. Unfortunately, they get him back for the next film, and they don't waste him. Which is good. Actually, no, they do waste him.
He
gets wasted, properly wasted.
It's fun.
Did
you ever meet David Warner? Sorry, because you go to a lot of things. Did you ever meet? I've
never met David Warner in person. No.
I met him. I went to the London Comic Con and he walked past me. I went like that, and he seemed genuinely pleased that somebody recognised him. I was like, I know who you are. You've been in absolutely fucking everything. I said to him. I was like, you're in 2 Star Trek movies, 5 and 6. You were Chancellor Gore. It was like, can I have your autograph? And he's like, yeah, do you want a picture? Fuck yeah. No one knew. I posted on Facebook. It's like, no one knew who this guy was. And I said, are you joking? This guy's a fucking legend. He's in everything. Sorry, just reminded me of the story of him. Really nice guy.
The closest I got that is probably talking to Virginia Hay, because she got knocked at me because I took a picture of her eating. She's like, "Don't you take a picture of me? I just wanted to get a picture." She's quite nice about it though. We had a lovely couple. My wife was talking to her for ages. And Serta McCoy was quite a nice one to meet. But no, I never met David Warner. Mike Tyson, nice guy. In passing. And just all my Mike Tyson was, hey, Mike Tyson, as I pointed at him as he walked past. I'd be scared if I fucked up. The bodyguards are there to keep me safe, not him. Short. He's incredibly short. That's the thing about him. I didn't realize how short he was.
Is that a way of writing nice rack without actually saying it, Biffa? I'm just going to fucking say it.
She's lovely person.
I know. I've heard it. I have to say, I mean, when I met David Warner, he was really nice as well. Genuinely, really nice. But it was funny because my mate, all the guys that my mate who went there wanted to see, right? You know, they were all kind of assholes like Warwick Davis. I met the cat. What's his face? As the cat. And I spoke to him for about 15 minutes. Got a picture of me and him. He was a lovely guy, really nice guy. I told him I love him. I love him in Death in Paradise.
I was supposed to have a picture taken with the entire Red Dwarf crew, and I couldn't have it taken with him because he was doing Death in Paradise. It's really annoying. Oh yes, and Steve Moffat.
Yeah.
My wife stopped him because he was walking like on the floor, and it's like, that's Stephen Moffat, and my wife was like, and she stopped him. I can't remember what she said to him too, but she stopped him because he was with one of his kids. He was with the kid that was in the the thing that you didn't like, where he should have killed the teacher in the basement at the end, but copped out. What was that called?
Are you talking? You're not talking about the thing with what's his face, the doctor in it?
Yeah, it's Dave Tennant, the priest.
Oh, that thing. Oh, God, that was horrible. That was awful.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I
thought you were talking about.
We stopped him.
Go on. The thing that wasn't Stephen Moffat, but was Stephen Moffat. The thing with Peter Capaldi, which I did enjoy. David Warner. Yeah, he was massively underused in Star Trek 5, but he was well used in Star Trek 6.
That's a good thing about alien makeup. You just cake him in alien makeup and put him up in front of the camera again.
But yeah,
Kirk's whole played multiple roles.
Kirk's whole speech. Sorry. Yes, in Star Trek. Actually, you're right, because in Star Trek 6, I finally realised who the fucking president is. The federal, and I'd never realised it until I watched it today. And I went, I know who that is. I know exactly who is that, because he was in Voyager in the Year of Hell, right? Yeah, and I was like, yes, never realised it until now. Never realised that. I like going back to Star Trek 5. I like the bit where Kirk questions him, and again, this is where the tragedy, the tragic character that Cyborg is, because again, the thing about Star Trek is and the thing about modern Trek versus old Star Trek, and this is something that what's his face? Who's the guy that has all these insights, and he knows people in the industry, and he's always on. I've forgotten his name. Has his own channel. You know who I'm talking about. Come on, the Star Trek guy. The Star Trek guy that's on YouTube. A lot. I
need a bit more than the Star Trek. There's lots of stuff. We're the Star Trek guys on YouTube at the moment.
Yeah, we are. The one that's on, does stuff with some Robert Meyer Burnett.
Robert Meyer Burnett.
Yeah. Robert Meyer Burnett makes this point that in the original Star Trek, you never really had baddies. You had protagonists, right? And he's absolutely right. And Cyborg was a good protagonist. It would have been better as
antagonist.
Sorry. He would have been a better antagonist had it been played by Conley. But his sacrifice at the end and the look of pain, you do feel that when he realizes it's not God. It's not God. It's some alien that just wants to, rule the world kind of thing. And the way he sacrifices himself is I've forgotten how sort of powerful that was. Again, as much as I know you fancy the Klingon bird in that, the Klingons just didn't need to be there at all in that film.
The Klingons needed to be there at the end to rescue Kirk. That's the only reason they were in there. They said hang on a second. It wasn't like Deus Ex Machina fucking Klingon bird of prey. One, they went, we like the Klingon bird of prey. We'd like to see the Klingon bird of prey again. Kind of associated with the Star Trek movies, considering it was in like the last one and the previous one. Kind of want to see it again. Oh, and it's in the next one too. And it is literally, with the exception of the first and second film, Klingon bird of prey in all of them.
Yep, it's true.
So, but they did need something there, and they did also need to put up another threat, which kind of told them that if they were not paying attention, something would come behind them. Maybe the payoff wasn't as good, because the payoff was you needed someone at the end, considering that they set up the Enterprise to say, hey, the transporters are not working. One of the shuttlecraft's fucked. The other shuttlecraft's now shagged too. Blah blah blah. Sorry, the other shuttlecraft's gone back. They needed some way of rescuing them. Yeah, and they had a Klingon ambassador or commander or whatever there at the same time too, and you had this aggressive person. Plus, you know that the Klingons were always gunning for Kirk since Search for Spock. Yeah, after Search for Spock, they've been gunning for Kirk. Yeah, and they kind of kept that thread going at the same time too. So you look at it as a whole, it makes a bit more sense. Individual film makes less sense, if that makes any. I get where I know where you're coming from there. But
I understand.
I kind of see it as a running thread that they were going through.
I get your point, and actually, when you put it like that, yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. But it wasn't actually the Klingons that saved him. It was Spock in the gunner's seat because the ambassador, who's a bit of a washout, Spock convinces him to tell you're a senior officer, fucking grow a pair and sort it out, and you're fucking what's his face, and he later comes back in Deep Space Nine because he comes back. I can't remember his name, but he's a character that does reoccur. But I like and then the film ends with them back in Yosemite or Yellowstone, wherever it is they are, and Spock brings that kind of Vulcan style harp, and then starts playing "Row Row Your Boat," and I loved that. I liked that. I actually ended up when I first thought I'd watch this, I thought I'm gonna not like, I gotta watch it to talk about it, but I genuinely enjoyed watching it. So thank you for making me watch it because I enjoyed it and I've forgotten that. So
this is the thing. Like, we complain about the current state of TV and whatnot, but there's still lots of good stuff in the past.
Yes, I've been enjoying watching these films. I'm glad that we're doing this. So yes,
because it's like I was having an argument, not argument with a friend, a little disagreement with my friend yesterday about Indiana Jones and how the raft in Temple of Doom, where they fall out the plane, is just as ridiculous as the fridge in Crystal Skull.
We had that argument.
Yeah, but I said to him, but the difference is you actually see that raft being filmed, being thrown out of a plane, and then it falls to the earth, and then it cuts, and then it lands on which I thought was the water, and this was a bit where I was wrong, lands on the snow, and then skids off the side of the cliff again, then to fall further into the water. But there's something real there. Someone actually went bothered to go out there and do something. Now, if Christopher Nolan would have directed that, we know that poor stunt person. But it was just the kind of the realistic thing. But yeah, there's still plenty of good stuff in the past that we've not watched. It's like I've never watched all of Blake 7. I've watched the first episode of Blake 7. I think I should watch that because everyone talks about it, and it's kind of was the basis for serialized science fiction from like the 70s, 80s.
And I think we need to carry on doing this at the moment. The Hollywood strikes are not going to get settled anytime soon, and to be quite honest with you, there's going to be a reckoning. The lawsuit that's against Disney is going to become louder. There is more and more stuff coming out now that Keith, I think Iger. Well, no, I think Iger's in the shit.
Right, hang on a second. There's the bribery lawsuit in Florida, where they were buying Disney park tickets, where they were supposed to be giving the firefighters stipends, so they had the choice to do it, because otherwise it makes their figures look better than they are, and they're not allowed to accept gifts over $25. According to Florida law, and there's some other bits there too. That was just the tip of the fucking iceberg.
It's to do with the inflating of figures and everything. But I mean, I said last week, and you guys leaped at me that they've got to spin off the parks. I read an article this week that people are now beginning to say that they've got to create a legacy company that the parks are moved under, and move the studios to a different company because the studio is fucked. And so is Iger by the sounds of it. But anyway, I don't want to finish on that. I'm really enjoying watching these movies again. I've forgotten how much I enjoyed them. I hope.
Undiscovered Country.
Yes, I've watched that. Now, I made a comment last week, and I realised that the version that I used to watch was the director's cut, which includes the scene with General West, where they talk about rescuing Kirk from a military point of view, and General West is played by Rene Auberjonois, Odo himself.
Mm-hmm.
I will give you. I'll see if you spot it, because you might, if you don't watch the director's cut. He is even though that scene is cut out, he's still in the movie. See if you spot him. He's still in the movie.
Okay.
I don't know if you will,
okay.
but you might.
All right, I'll watch it. It'll be good. All right.
So yes. But it's worth if you watch the version without the deleted scene, it is on YouTube, that deleted scene. But I apparently owned the director's cut version on DVD. I never realised that. Anywho, yes, Star Trek V, enjoyed it more. And you're right. I have to say it. I hate to say this. I'm not buying you another T-shirt, but you were right about Star Trek 4 and 5. So yeah, there you go. I'll give you that.
It's not. I'm not saying Star Trek 4's a bad film.
No, I get what you mean now. Having watched them all in a row, I get what you mean. Mean. Anyway,
hang on a second.
Yeah, next one.
Thanks very much for watching. We'll catch you next weekend. So goodbye, Keith.
Goodbye.
That's a terrible joke for the podcast, for the people who listen to the podcast.